Hi guys, we started this new decade with the biggest commitment of our lives. Something we'd never ever done before and something we're so excited to be doing in our lives. And that commitment was that we decided that for this decade, the big core goal of our lives would be to help 10,000 families work towards becoming financially independent in this decade. Okay, this is the biggest thing that we had ever done in our lives. And what was interesting about making that commitment, and some of you will know that I'm one for commitment in my life. In fact, I wrote a piece recently about the case for commitment, which I'll put in a link below or above if you're interested in reading that. One of the big things about commitment is that it just sharpens your mind. It just gives you something to hang on to wake up, to focus on. So for example, I'm shooting this at 5 a.m. in the morning. So when you have a commitment to something, it becomes the thing that guides your life. And going through this process and building something that will help people work towards this big goal of financial independence, we asked everybody waiting for our membership offering to complete a personal survey. And what's been very enlightening about going through the responses of the survey, bear in mind, the people completing these surveys are people who have dreams, they have goals, they have frustrations in life. These people have completed these surveys with very, very personal intentions. It struck me whilst reading the answers that people have put into their surveys that we have done a lot of things very differently on this journey to financial independence. A lot of the things we've done are things that I just take for granted. And whilst reading through those survey responses, it just really occurred to me that perhaps it might be worth just making a video that just shares some of the things that we've done differently. And these ideas are just meant to just help you have a thought reflection about your personal circumstances and help you potentially move from seeing financial independence as just a good idea to actually activating this goal as something that you practically want to achieve in your life. So today I'm going to share with you 10 things I did differently to become financially independent. When I say I really mean me and my wife, Mary. My name is Ken of The Humble Penny and Financial Academy. What we do on this channel is give you the tips, the insights, the practical hacks to help you work towards a dream life of financial independence and money joy. Right, let's dive straight in now and start to look at 10 things that we did differently in order to become financially independent. These are just random ideas, but 10 of them that I believe will just give you something to think about. But more than that, they'll help you to begin to do what most people must do in order to become financially independent. Becoming financially independent goes beyond just learning how to do things like how to invest your money. There are lots of mindset shifts that need to happen, and people need to be inspired on the journey, to be motivated on the journey, to have accountability on the journey. There are so many things that kind of have to line up and change over time, because remember, this is a long-term goal. For this goal to gradually start to become a reality in your life. Okay, so I hope with today's video, some of these things will start to come to the forefront of your mind as things that you need to focus on. Okay, right, let's dive straight in and look at these 10 different things. The first one is that I embraced a new attitude. Okay, I'm going to tell you a bit of a story. So back in 2006, when I started training as a chartered accountant, I chose to work for a firm that had the slogan, attitude changes everything. And I remember when I think about it now, one of the big kind of feelings that came out of thinking about that slogan and working for that business was that it had a certain element of fearlessness to it. At that very early stage of my life, I understood that I could live a potentially very different life if I approach life very differently. Something about that particular slogan, about attitude changing everything, felt very, very positive. At that early stage of my life, I understood that life could be done very differently if I began to understand who I was and what power I possessed. It would lead me towards creating a very different life myself. And this idea about embracing a different attitude came back to me almost as though it was written in the skies when I got out of my train station recently and it was pouring down with rain. In fact, there was so much rain and the wind was so strong that that large umbrella I had no functionality at all. There's just no way I could use the umbrella. And I still had another 15 minutes or so to walk before I would get to my house. And it dawned on me when I came out of that train station and everybody was just standing there, unsure what to do. And I remember I had my umbrella. I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go for it. And I got off and started walking up the hill. And as I kept walking up that hill, I just saw that very slogan about attitude almost flash into my life. Because what it made me realize was that at that very moment, the weather was trying to completely break me down. In that literally I was being smashed left, right and center by the wind, by the rain. And whilst the rain was smashing me up, I was walking up this hill and I just stopped because it was so heavy. The rain, I couldn't use the umbrella and the winds. And I literally just stood there and just stared into the sky and went, is this all you've got? Literally, I didn't care what anyone around me was thinking. I couldn't contain my frustration internally anymore. I just verbalized it into, I don't know, the atmosphere or into the skies. And for me, that was me fighting back. I was saying to myself, this weather, this whole thing that's happening right now will not break me this evening because I know what mission I'm on. I know the thing I'm trying to achieve this evening and I know how that connects to the rest of my week, right? So come rain or shine, this thing that's happening right now will not stop me. And for most people at that very moment, you'd be thinking to yourself, I can't wait to get home, make myself a cup of tea, get into my duvet and snuggle up and call it a night. But for me, I was thinking, nah, this weather's not going to have me. I've got a lot of work to do. I've still got to get home, watch the edit of my YouTube videos. I've still got another 2 hours of work to do. Things that are actually quite critical to me to get done. I'm not going to get stopped by the weather. And at that moment, I realized that deep within, there was this particular attitude within me of particular resistance and independence that had been building up for many years, okay? And that attitude is about doing life very differently to the way most people might do them, getting yourself accustomed to being uncomfortable. And that's what this journey to financial independence is partly about. It's about not choosing the easy path in life, which is what most people would do. Whereas the people who know they've got work to do, who are building businesses, online businesses, side hustles, whatever, no matter the weather, will get home and get to work because they know that there's an overarching thing that they're trying to achieve. And they know that it requires a particular trade-off for them to achieve what they want out of life, okay? So this thing about attitude is a huge aspect of this journey. To get towards that goal of financial independence, you've got to embrace a different attitude. The second thing I did differently is that I set a North Star goal, okay? A North Star goal is the goal that you are aiming for no matter what. It's kind of the long range goal, that thing that whenever you are thinking about what am I aiming for in life, the thing that goes beyond New Year resolutions and short-term goals, that big goal that you are optimizing your life for is your North Star goal. Most people, in my opinion, who want to become financially independent today are just all words. They just verbalize nice ideas. Most people don't even sit still enough to set a simple basic goal that they're going to achieve today, let alone achieving a North Star goal such as financial independence, okay? So my question to you with this very point today is this one. What is your North Star goal? What is that goal? If you are saying that that goal is financial independence, what evidence in your life today indicates that financial independence is the thing you're trying to achieve? What practical evidence? What are you doing differently? What steps are you taking to acquire the knowledge, change your mindset, to get the inspiration, the motivation, to move beyond generating income from one source, to acquire more assets? What are you doing to make that happen? Okay, because if you are not seeing any evidence in your life today, any practical, any real evidence in your life today, then I'm sorry to say, but financial independence is just a phantom goal. So to turn that around and reframe that position, you have to start to take different steps. And that begins by setting this as a true North Star goal in your life. Next one is that I ignored my friends. Okay, right, this doesn't sound as bad as it is, but in a way, it's actually a really important point. Okay, a lot of us today live what I refer to as a financially ordinary life, essentially a mediocre life, because a lot of our lives are driven by what our friends are doing. Here's a really important question for you. Are your friends living what you consider to be an inspiring life? If they are, then that's an amazing thing. What I found in my life was that a lot of people who I've kind of acquired as friends over many years stopped living the type of life that I considered to be an inspiring life, okay? And for me to break away and work towards my North Star goal, I needed to kind of shed some friends over time. What I mean by that is gradually move on and meet new people who were doing things in my life. People who were trailblazing and taking leaps that resonated with the type of person that I needed to become. Because remember, who you are today and who you are when you become financially independent are two different people. You will, in fact, you will probably not recognize the individual you are today if you will become financially independent one day. When you look back, and it can happen, you will not recognize that person. But a certain level of transformation needs to happen for you to start to see that change. And for me, one of those was letting go of a lot of my friends. A lot of my friends were too risk averse. They were not prepared to take risks. They were not prepared to make radical decisions about their cost in their lives, changing their cars, for example, starting businesses, doing life beyond just having a normal day job. Now, where do you get to in life if all your friends are the people doing the exact things that you are trying to get away from? So if you analyze your life today and find that your friends are not inspiring you, I'd say do what I did. Do a friends audit. It's a hard decision, but you must assess to what extent your friends are feeding your life and feeding your future. And if a lot of them are not doing that, you've got to do something about it today. The next one is that I discriminated against my employers, okay? I've mentioned this point before, but I thought I'd shed a bit more light here, just so you can understand, okay? So, the balance of power for most people in most places of employment is that most people think that their employers are doing them a favor by giving them a job and paying them a salary, okay? But this is quite a small mindset type of thinking, because if you really understand who you are and what power you possess and what you bring to the table, and the level of knowledge and expertise and skill set that you possess, and the level of potential that you possess, you will realize that you are actually being shortchanged in your current employment. Radical idea, but it's true. So, if you understand this very much, then the question that should really be niggling you at the back of your mind should be, should I now be thinking about doing something different or moving to a different employment perhaps, if it serves me better to do so? Most people don't ask this question. So when I talk about I discriminate against my employers, what I mean here really is I went to the employer who essentially did things that served me, right? So the balance of power wasn't just tilted towards them. I was bringing a skill set and they were bringing what I considered to be adequate remuneration in order to help me work towards my North Star goal. Question for you today is, who are you working for? Are they really paying you what you're worth? If not, if you need to make more money on that journey to financial independence, you've got to take some radical decisions today. The fifth one is that we paid off our mortgage early. Okay, so a lot of you have potentially watched our video on how we paid off our mortgage in 7 years, okay? Now, I'll put a link to it below and above if you're new to this channel and you haven't seen that video, okay? The reason I bring this point up is that on this journey towards financial independence for us, a lot of people were saying to us, why are you trying to pay off a mortgage? Why? It's a low interest environment. It just doesn't make any sense, right? A lot of these people were our friends, right? I laugh at this because this is the thing about groupthink, is that most people think in exactly the same way. They hear an idea and they hear an idea for somebody else and then they connect the dots and go, yes, this is exactly how I should be thinking, right? Without actually pausing and asking themselves, how relevant is this idea for my personal circumstances? Remember, money is personal, hence why it's called personal finance. Most people don't ask that question. How is it relevant to my personal situation? Because if you can personalize this decision, and this mortgage thing is one of them, then you can make the decision that matters to you, okay? And for us, becoming mortgage-free made sense. Beyond mere economics of, oh, you can make more money on the stock market and then use it to pay your mortgage off. For some people, that's the way to do it. Good luck to them. But for us, paying off that mortgage was game-changing because not only did it massively reduce our expenses, massively, it also meant that we offered ourselves a heck of a lot more optionality in our lives when it came to work, okay? We love working, we're pro-working, as you can see. I'm working right now, making these YouTube videos, but it just means that we have more options, more flexibility to do what we want. And this is game-changing, okay? If becoming mortgage-free is something you're interested in, look at my video, look at a couple of others. I've done another one about paying off your mortgage versus investing through the stock market, which I'll put, again, a link below and above for you to check out. Watch those videos. And the whole point of me making those videos is kind of open up your mindset a little bit, just to kind of make you think slightly beyond what the masses think about, what most people see as the default answer, but to personalize the decision for yourself and ask yourself, is this course of action for me? And if it is, why? Have your why in capitals, because that's really what matters. And once you frame what that why is, take action. The next one is that I looked beyond boring savings, okay? Obviously, saving money is very important. And in fact, most people in this country are risk averse and only really think about cutting to save money. And that's great, okay? But to actually break out and kind of move beyond, you have to kind of start to think about making more money and investing the money that you make, okay? Now, these are not surprises, but to short circuit this journey, you have to be quite creative about how you achieve your goals. Again, this is another reason why we are creating a membership environment, because we can start to share those exact ideas for how you do that. Because just trying to save on your existing income, sorry to break it to you, might not be the practical reality of how you go about this, okay? So for us personally, we started businesses that have helped us on this journey. Those businesses have helped us acquire assets and take steps to start to generate income from multiple other sources, okay? In short, what I'm saying here is that saving money is absolutely critical, but in order to short circuit this journey, you've got to be creative and take the steps to make more money whilst keeping your lifestyle at the same level. The next one is that I outsourced money making to assets, okay? So there are two broad ways that you can make money. The first one is that you can swap your life's energy in order to make some money, which is probably what you do on a day-to-day basis. You go to work, you swap some of that life energy, and you get paid a salary. The second way to make money is that you can start to acquire assets instead in order for those assets to gradually start to make you some money. Most people refer to this as passive income in some ways, okay? Now, the thing about passive income for a lot of people is that they get too excited thinking about it that they don't pause to ask themselves, how do I make my first passive income? What is that first passive income source? They don't think about the nitty-gritty details you need to think about in order to work towards achieving that first passive income. Because it's only by making your first passive income that you potentially then make a second passive income source, okay? To help you with thinking about that and help you with taking those steps, I made a video recently, I'll put a link to it below and above, for how you can start to generate your first passive income. Make sure you watch that video because I go through the practical realities for the thought process you need in order to generate your first passive income source and begin that journey of outsourcing money making to assets. Next is that I focused on ownership and control, okay? So as an accountant, I understand this principle, and I know it might not be something that you might think of naturally, but the one thing that you will notice with anybody who's acquired wealth over time, any rich person who's done it and built wealth over time, is that they have these two elements of ownership and control, okay? So what do I mean here? Ownership essentially refers to you owning assets, okay? So you own some property, some shares, some equity in companies, and so on, okay? You own some assets. Next is control. In simple terms, control means that you are able to make actionable decisions about those assets that you are invested in. In technical terms, control essentially means that you own more than 50% of those assets, okay? When you combine ownership and control, you suddenly find that you have something powerful that most people who build wealth over time also have in their hands. And the thing about ownership and control is that it's a mindset thing, okay? You've got to be of the mindset of somebody who is an owner and somebody who believes that they can build the knowledge and the networks and what have you in order to gradually start to acquire assets and control those assets, okay? A lot of people who work for other people who are employees never actually develop this mindset of ownership. It's the same mindset of ownership that helps you go and start a business because you are thinking of ownership and control of the shareholdings of a business so that you can extract value from that business over time. When I talk about assets, by the way, the default assumption here is that I'm talking about just property assets. I'd love to just say that you should try to think beyond just thinking about the kind of low-hanging fruit type of assets such as physical property, but to also think about intangible property assets. So for example, this channel you're watching here on The Humble Penny is part of our intangible asset, essentially, okay? So we own the trademark for The Humble Penny, we own the blog, the YouTube channel, the academy. So all these things are all intangible assets, okay? That's just one example. So when you think about ownership and control, ask yourself, how can I use the money I have today, no matter how small that is, to start to give myself elements of ownership and control in my own life? Next one is that I had income goals, okay? Right, so I mentioned the North Star goal earlier, okay, which for me was financial independence. It no longer is. For us, our North Star goal now is helping other people become financially independent, which I mentioned the number 10,000 over the next 10 years. That's our North Star goal. Now, for most people who are pursuing financial independence, for that intangible goal to start to become real one day, okay, one of the things you have to do is to start to have a tangible, almost tangible income goal. That's one element of that journey, okay? So I must think of this as part of a framework, okay? So goals or objectives exist after you first considered the word purpose. So what is the purpose for which you are setting an objective? And after the objectives, do you then look at the strategy and the potential tactics for how you are gonna achieve those goals, which most people refer to as SMART goals. SMART being specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. It's an acronym, SMART, okay? But most people don't even set income goals alone, let alone those goals being SMART goals and those goals being connected initially to a purpose, a meaning in their own lives, their why, essentially, okay? So the thing we did differently that set us apart, without a doubt, is that every single year, without fail, we had income goals. And those income goals gave us an objective. And that objective was connected to our purpose, okay? So a question for you is, what is your income goal? What is that goal? If you currently don't have one, then my advice today would be, take some time out, give yourself 10 minutes and try to answer that question. I don't know what month you're going to be watching this video, but over the next 12 months, what do you want your income to look like? And I love this question because it starts to activate a great deal of creativity in your mind, because you start to open your mind and your imagination up to what could be possible, which is something that a lot of us don't do anymore because we don't give ourselves enough time to dream and think about our lives and our futures. Okay, so this brings us to number 10 on the list, which is that I stopped talking about financial independence. Okay, so on my journey to financial independence, I did not speak to a great deal of people about our journey. And the reason for that is because initially we were doing that. We were trying to speak to people saying, look at this journey we're on. What are you guys doing? What are you doing in your own life? How are you working on costs? How are you working on income? How are you working on assets and mindset and stuff like that? But what you find is that people don't really like talking about stuff like that, okay, when you kind of get down to it, okay? So it will have to be quite an unusual person to be open to talking about such goals as financial independence, which is why, and again, it's no surprise, that I think the stats are that only 4% of the population actually do achieve financial independence, okay? Which, again, it's no surprise because most people can't even have it as a conversation, let alone have it as a practical goal for their lives. Okay, so what I'm trying to say here is we stopped talking about financial independence because we focused instead on achieving financial independence, on taking massive action in our lives. Okay, so are you today one of those people who, as soon as a financial independence article comes up in a newspaper, or as soon as it's mentioned somewhere, or you read it on a blog, or on some forum, or some Facebook group, you get yourself really excited? If you're one of those people, that's okay, okay? That's not a bad thing to do. But you've got to move beyond words, okay? Because otherwise you're just kidding yourself, okay? What I'd say here is talk less about FI, but take action. Now, I can talk about it because my entire channel is dedicated to financial independence. But my point is, talking is cheap, okay? That's really the point. It's not about talking about it. It's about doing something about it and doing something radically different in your life such that you start to see a different result. Do you get the point here? If you are doing exactly the same things in your life as you are doing them today, don't expect a different result. But if you want a different result, stop talking about it. Instead, take radical action in your life and you will start to see gradual change in your life. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed today's video on 10 things we did differently in order to become financially independent. These are just 10 random things I've picked. I mean, there's so many other things I could talk about, but to stop this video being too long, I hope these 10 ideas have given you something to think about, to ponder on, in order to help you take the next best step in your life on this journey towards making financial independence become real in your life in the very near future. If you really enjoyed this video, please hit that like button because it helps with the engagement on our channel. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. What is your number one challenge on the journey towards becoming financially independent? What is the one thing, when you think about it, you think, this is the thing that's just holding me back? I'd love to know what that thing is. please comment below and let's just chat about it. That's what this channel has been created to do, so that we can have dialogue as a community. If you're new to our channel, please make sure you hit that subscribe button and don't forget to hit the notifications button, because it helps to get you notified when we publish content twice a week on a Tuesday as well as a Thursday. Guys, I've really enjoyed making this video. I hope you've enjoyed watching it too. Thanks a lot for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again on our next video. Take care and bye for now.